In the eerie town of shadows and secrets, where the wind whispered tales of the past and the trees bore witness to the unfolding mysteries, there stood a house that concealed a history as chilling as the icy fingers of a ghostly apparition. This was no ordinary residence. It was a dwelling with a soul, a place where the thin veil between the living and the dead seemed to blur into a spectral dance of unseen forces. The tale begins with a burst of procrastination, a seemingly harmless act that unraveled the sinister secrets buried within the walls of the house. The protagonist, drawn by the irresistible curiosity that often accompanies idle moments, delved into the dusty archives of the town's online newspaper. What they uncovered was a story that had been forgotten by time, but etched into the very foundation of the dwelling. The family that erected the ominous house was shrouded in tragedy. The patriarch, a widowed man, lived there with his daughter, who never ventured into the realms of matrimony. Instead, she dedicated her entire life to caring for her ailing father within the cold embrace of those haunted walls. As the years passed, the daughter succumbed to the inevitability of old age, leaving behind a legacy of loyalty and an unfulfilled longing for companionship. Little did the inhabitants of the house know that the daughter's spirit lingered on, bridging the gap between the living and the deceased. The ghostly apparition, a spectral caretaker, continued her duties beyond the realm of life, determined to fulfill the responsibilities she had shouldered in her mortal existence. The once innocent occurrences within the house took on a chilling significance. The vacuum cleaner, a mechanical relic of the past, would come to life of its own accord, its hum echoing through the empty corridors like a melancholic lullaby. Clothes and towels, discarded carelessly before bedtime, took on a life of their own. In the silent hours of the night, invisible hands meticulously folded the fabric, placing them with eerie precision at the foot of the beds. Residents of the house were both unnerved and comforted by these spectral interventions. The daughter's benevolent presence, though unseen, manifested through these peculiar acts of otherworldly domesticity. The once creaking floorboards now echoed with a spectral tenderness, as if the daughter's ghost sought to bring order and solace to those who dwelled within. As the seasons changed and years passed, the spectral caretaker's influence endured, a silent guardian bound by an unbroken promise. The house, with its hidden history and ghostly resident, stood as a testament to the thin veil that separates the living from the dead. It beckoned to those who dared to unravel its mysteries, offering glimpses into a world where the past clung to the present, and the boundaries between life and afterlife dissolved into a chilling harmony. In the quaint town of Eldridge, nestled between ancient woods and whispered secrets, I found myself in a house that bore witness to inexplicable occurrences. Little did I know that my home, seemingly a haven from the outside world, harbored a sinister presence that defied all reason. It all began innocently enough. Windows left ajar on the second floor, inviting the chilling rain to dance within the confines of my once safe haven. A disconcerting feeling settled in as I discovered food containers in the fridge mysteriously opened, their contents untouched by human hands. Yet, it was the peculiar hatred for clocks that sent shivers down my spine. The ghost, an entity that seemed to harbor a vehement disdain for the rhythmic heartbeat of time, manifested its malevolence in unsettling ways. Antique cuckoo clocks, cherished relics that had faithfully ticked for half a century, succumbed to an unexplained demise, their once precise mechanisms frozen in silence. Even modern wall clocks, fueled by batteries that should have lasted ages, surrendered to the ghost's sinister whims, their hands frozen in a mockery of the unstoppable march of time. My personal belongings became battlegrounds in this spectral war. A cherished watch, a constant companion that had weathered the storms of life, lay shattered on the floor one fateful morning. I knew I had slept with it securely strapped to my wrist, leaving me to ponder the unfathomable force that had sought to obliterate its crystal. Christmas brought with it a gift that would become a symbol of the ghost's malice. A brand new Kit Kat clock, a whimsical addition to my home decor, became a victim of the entity's wrath. As I stood in the kitchen, immersed in the culinary alchemy of my evening meal, the feline timekeeper was catapulted off the wall. A swift, unnatural motion that defied the laws of physics, leaving me in stunned silence as the broken pieces lay scattered across the floor. The ghost, it seemed, reveled in being a spiteful entity, an unseen tormentor with a penchant for disrupting the very fabric of my reality. Whether it was the relentless assault on timepieces or the malicious act of destroying cherished possessions, the spirit's malevolence knew no bounds. Night after night, I found myself haunted by the unseen presence, my senses attuned to every creak and groan within the house. The once familiar surroundings transformed into a labyrinth of uncertainty, where the ghost's mischievous acts became a relentless reminder of the supernatural forces that lurked in the shadows. As the ghost's grip on my home tightened, I couldn't help but wonder about the history that bound it to these walls. What unresolved grievances or dark secrets fueled its vengeful spirit? Little did I know that the answers to these questions would plunge me into a nightmarish descent, where the thin veil between the living and the dead blurred into a realm of terror that defied all rational explanation. In the eerie stillness of the night, I found myself jolted awake at the unholy hour of 3 a.m. An unsettling sense of disquiet pervaded the darkness as my consciousness struggled to shake off the grogginess of sleep. It took mere seconds for my senses to be assaulted by an otherworldly occurrence that would haunt the corridors of my mind for years to come. The source of my disturbance seemed to emanate from my roommate's room, the door oscillating between opening and slamming shut with an unnatural ferocity. Panic seized my chest as I called out, pleading for the unseen force to cease its malevolent actions. "Stop!" I implored, my voice cutting through the oppressive silence of the night. To my chilling realization, my cries were met with a deafening silence that echoed back at me. An unsettling revelation sent shivers down my spine. I was alone in the house, abandoned by the comforting presence of my roommate, who should have been there to share the weight of the inexplicable horrors unfolding. As if in response to my growing dread, the relentless slamming of the door ceased abruptly. The sudden quiet that followed was more disconcerting than the disturbing cacophony that had preceded it. Yet the malicious entity haunting the dwelling had not exhausted its repertoire of terror. The faint glow of moonlight filtering through my bedroom window illuminated the hippie beads that adorned my doorway. Initially mere decorations, these beads took on a sinister life of their own. With a grotesque dance against the doorframe, they swung perfectly, yet violently, as if propelled by an unseen force. The air in the room thickened with an inexplicable tension, and a cold sweat clung to my skin as I grappled with the chilling reality of the paranormal unfolding before me. A dilemma gnawed at the edges of my consciousness. Should I brave the unknown and investigate the malevolent force that toyed with my reality? Or should I surrender to the primal instinct urging me to escape through the window, even at the cost of dismantling the air conditioning unit that separated me from the ominous void outside? The beads continued their unnerving dance, casting ominous shadows that flickered in the dim moonlight. Contemplating my options, I hesitated on the precipice of a decision that could either free me from the clutches of the paranormal or plunge me into a deeper abyss of terror. Paralyzed by fear, I opted for the safety of my bed, assuming the fetal position as a feeble attempt to shield myself from the malevolent energies that surrounded me. Time crawled at an agonizing pace as I lay there, each moment dragging like an eternity, until finally the oppressive sway of the beads subsided. The room returned to an eerie stillness, but the echoes of that haunting night lingered, etched into the fabric of my consciousness. The experience left me grappling with the thin veil that separates the mundane from the macabre, forever questioning the boundaries between the seen and the unseen. Within the hushed corridors of our shared abode, a spectral tale unfolded, casting a pall of dread over the ordinary fabric of our existence. The ominous events transpired late one fateful night when my roommate, burdened by the weight of exhaustion, embarked on a routine mission to secure our dwelling against the encroaching darkness. The clock's hands pointed towards the witching hour as my roommate, driven by a wearied sense of responsibility, embarked on the ritualistic journey to lock doors and extinguish the feeble flames of illumination that danced through the rooms. Little did he know that the mundane tasks that typically provided a sense of security were about to become the harbingers of a terror that would cling to the walls of our shared sanctuary. As he traversed the silent expanse of our living space, his footsteps echoed a lonesome cadence against the cold, unforgiving floor. The subtle creaks of wooden panels beneath his weight seemed to harmonize with the mysterious symphony of the night. Unbeknownst to him, the darkness harbored a presence, a malevolent force waiting to breach the fragile boundary between the living and the unknown. The moment unfolded with a quiet inevitability. His back turned to the room. A chilling breath whispered into his ear, "Ha!" The phantom exhalation, laden with an otherworldly resonance, lingered in the air like an ethereal wisp. A sudden shiver coursed down his spine, the tendrils of fear tightening their grip on his senses. He assumed it was me, oblivious to the fact that my physical form lay dormant in the embrace of sleep. A flicker of suspicion sparked within him as he turned around, expecting to find me jesting with an impish grin. Yet the room bore witness to a different reality, an empty space devoid of human presence. In that solitary moment, the room became a stage for a supernatural drama, the boundaries between the tangible and the intangible blurred by an unseen force. Fear, like a corrosive poison, seized control of his senses. A primal instinct took hold as terror surged through his veins. In an involuntary response, he lost control, his very essence succumbing to an involuntary release. The room bore witness to a silent confession as he stood, paralyzed by the unearthly encounter. Fueled by a visceral fear, he abandoned all reason and fled to the refuge of his room, the safety of a locked door providing meager solace against the spectral forces that lurked beyond. Terrified to venture out, he remained ensconced in the protective shell of his quarters, unable to muster the courage to confront the ominous shadows that danced outside. The lights and the television, left aglow in the aftermath of his hurried escape, cast eerie illuminations upon the haunted canvas of our shared dwelling. The darkness, once a familiar ally, became a malevolent entity, harboring secrets that eluded the grasp of reason. The night persisted, haunted by the echoes of a breath that defied the laws of the living. The air itself seemed to hold a residue of the supernatural encounter, as if the very fabric of reality had been punctured by an unseen force. and within the confines of our once secure abode, the room remained shrouded in a silence that belied the unsettling events that had transpired, leaving us forever changed by the lingering presence of the unknown.